Hello, it's the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in the Cosmic Suit. And yes, I am never taking this jumper off. Well, until it gets warmer. It's just too nice. Just a reminder, keep up with my work. The email is the best way of doing that. It's near this video. I got a strike from YouTube this week. I thought it was 3 months, but it turns out it's a few days, so I should be back on YouTube. This might even be on YouTube. It depends what we talk about, because today we're going to talk about cancer. We've all been touched by cancer. I lost so many relatives through cancer, and knowing what I know now, it was all avoidable. But cancer is something I think we need to discuss, but there are positives that can come out of it, right? And over the last couple of years, since I moved to Ireland, I did start this. When I first came here, I didn't know anybody, and when I started this channel, I thought I know I think it's a bit stupid, but I thought I was the only one in Ireland that was awake, because I was just surrounded by nutters in masks. But it's been my real privilege over the last year, at least, to meet some amazing people, and one of those is Celine O'Donovan. Hello, Celine.
Oh, hi, Mark. Sorry.
You got
drink of water.
You got the memo about the matching jumpers.
I did, but you didn't get the memo that you have to have knit it yourself.
Well, I don't need to knit things myself.
I know you don't have to.
I'm not that sovereign.
I
was actually thinking
for something.
I was thinking about that this morning, because there's a button missing on my jeans, and I was like, who am I going to get to sew this on? That was my first thought. And then a thought came into my head saying, Mark, you could do it yourself. And I went, oh yeah, I could.
But I won't.
No, I'm going to. I'm going to go and get.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and do my own. Yeah, this is what sovereignty means.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
Anyway, we've met a few times, and you've massively impressed me. And you're an author. You've written a number of books, especially about your survival of cancer and how it was a great gift to you, which I love. I love the fact that somebody can take what most people think is. See, I had so many answers you just gave up. 3-4 years ago, one of my aunties got cancer, and I told her everything I knew at the time. I told her about CBD and cannabis oil. I told her about I didn't know about MMS then, but I told her about juicing and alkaline environments, and as much as I could muster, because my mum had the same thing like 10 years before, and my mum's still here.
Wow.
Wow. She listened.
What
she
went.
Yeah. Well, she just changed her diet. And changed her outlook.
Yeah.
And she, I'm not even sure she had it in the first place. I think they misdiagnosed it loads of times to get people to go through the fucking disgusting things that they make people go through. But my auntie, she wasn't the first. She was about the fourth, who literally just couldn't do it. She just refused to listen to me and kept going back to the doctors, and then she died. And she was about 58, and I was like, oh. So I'm I'm not the only one, right? There's hundreds of millions of billions of us.
Yeah. And it's only recently another thing that came to me about breast cancer. I hadn't before. I nearly think this is some part of a greater plan to do with the divine feminine and masculine, and some sort of shutting down that feminine power. There's something now I can see in my own life. The biggest thing for me about cancer was suppression. I suppressed. I keep saying it. I was just talking to a neighbor yesterday who has just come through bowel cancer. I haven't said this to her, but of course she had the famous jabs, and suddenly, boom, cancer. Really, really, and it's colon cancer. So anyway, we had a good chat yesterday, and we were talking about the significance of where you get it, and she got it in her bowel and her colon, which is all about digesting. So it's digestion of food, but it's digestion of your emotions, of your life. And I felt that straight away with breast cancer. I say it to people, it was the first time in my life made sense. Nothing made sense before that. I was just like living this life that felt so... I understand it now. I was basically sort of imprisoned in this matrix of limitation and being small and disconnected from my power. And I knew it. I always knew it. I always felt there was something wrong in my life, and this can't be it. And then when I got the diagnosis, I said it, I was interviewed on Midwest Radio yesterday. So I'm sort of careful as well, because I don't want to belittle the devastation. That's why the title of the book, Gifts from the Devastation. It
Show it.
was
Hold it up.
my one copy till I get more. And I chose a sunflower because, well, a lot of synchronicities happened that made me choose the sunflower, but I was looking for something uplifting and joyful. And the sunflower grows towards the light and faces the light. It follows the light. And I love that, because that's all I want to do in my life now, is be the light, emanate the light, follow the light. And I just think it brings joy when you look at it. It unsettled few people at the beginning when I told them the title, and I said Gifts from the Devastation. They were like, oh God, like that. It is a little bit uncomfortable sometimes for people, but that's okay. I don't mind that, because what's the alternative? I often say to people, you have a choice. What's the alternative? You're going to go, I've no choice in life, and I'm just going to give in. And I mean, we have a choice, but my choice was no, because as I said, the minute I got the news, I was shocked, the usual, and then thought, oh my God, I'm going to lose my hair, which was the second big thing, because I had loads of hair. And he was, don't worry, the hair will grow back. And then I sort of got through that. And then I went home, and then I just went, oh my God, I can stop. And I just felt relief. It's really bizarre, as difficult as it was. Everything that I knew instinctively was wrong in my life and the way I was living and the way we're all living. Lest we forget, pre-COVID or these last 2 years, life wasn't exactly a, game of, joy for everyone. I worked with teenagers. I saw their stress. I saw their pain. It nearly killed me. That was part of it. There was a number of factors, my job, and just seeing young people suppressed, and I couldn't do it. I used to tell them, just follow your passion. I was meant to be promoting the university, and I just couldn't anymore. I just said, you've got to follow your dreams, and my heart wasn't in it. I couldn't do it. I wasn't expressing myself. So I say to people, I look at cancer as a suppression of creative energy, your life force, your spirit, your truth, your fire, your joy, your everything. And then as a result so that had to go somewhere. Where does it go? It's not being expressed. It has to grow inside. And then that's the healing. The process is now it's being expressed. And that's so empowering. Like, I believe that's there for everyone. I really, really, so passionately. And my book isn't, I keep saying to people, it is a cancer book, but it's not a cancer book. It's about any devastation. Every single one of us, can list probably a million devastations. And just to give you an example, I was on a podcast with this guy in America last week called Grief to Growth, which I thought was a beautiful title. And he had up behind him, he lost his 15-year-old daughter, this beautiful girl, suddenly 5 years ago. Just no warning sign, nothing, and was plunged into the most horrendous grief. And now he said it's changed his life in that I could feel her energy. She's sort of working through him. And his role, what he's doing now, is helping people. He said, don't waste your pain. That's his message to people. You can get stuck and lost in your pain. You got to feel it. You got to honor it, but don't waste it. Don't waste it. Like, use it to help someone else, isn't it?
It's a gift.
He really, I was like, wow, that sums it up. What else? Otherwise, I might as well curl up. I think sometimes, why did I go through all of this if I'm just going to keep quiet and go back to my job and say nothing and go, oh, I'm so grateful the doctors fixed me. And they didn't fix me.
No.
That's the key, isn't it? I feel anyway. Like you said with your family, we have these abilities, these amazing powers that we've been deprived of. We've been led to believe we don't have.
Well, we've been deceived.
Yeah.
The powers are there.
Yes.
And that's what this is all about. And what you just described is essentially spiritual alchemy.
Yeah.
And every cloud has a silver lining. It's all there in wisdom. It's all there. And this is like, I love the fact that you've written this mainly because so many people get cancer.
Yeah.
So that's why it's such an important hook into getting people to see it differently.
Yeah. And sorry, just the interesting thing on that, I didn't say this to many people, at the very beginning when I was diagnosed, prior to that, I had been living quite a holistic life, and I worked with the shaman and healer, and I trained in sound healing. And the minute he heard my news, he said, "You got to come down." He lived in Wexford. He was a Lebanese man. He still is a Lebanese man, I think. He changed nationality since then.
He identifies as Irish now, so he's
Twice as hard. Well, they think he's crazy. He's in Gory with all these symbols around his wall. I don't know if he still is or if he's gone back to Lebanon. But a beautiful man who helped me an awful lot. And he said, first thing, come down, stay with me. I'm going to do some work in terms of herbs. I'm going to do a shamanic ceremony. I'm going to remove the cancer. So I was like, okay. And off I go down. And he does do this ceremony. And he does remove this. Now, this is going to sound weird. He did. He removed the lump. He even said, he showed me the crystal and he put it in the garden. And he said, oh my God. And he just said, give it some time. I knew, I felt it. It was dead. Like it was like rock hard. But it started something that was quite a challenging time or decision for me, because I ended up being very torn. I had one side, the doctors, the consultants, my family, going start treatment. And he was writing a book about healing, and he had healed himself from a brain tumor. And I think he's a very good man, but I do think he wanted me to be one of his first healing miracles in his book. And it was, and I went home and he was telling me, ask them for blood tests to show, that you can see the cancer is gone. And I'd go in and I was so lost. I did, but like they were looking at me like I was crazy. But ultimately what happened was it had spread to the lymph nodes, and I had forgot to tell him that. So it still was there. And so I had this dilemma, and the consultant, I must say, he's a wonderful consultant in the sense that he kept saying, it's your choice. It's your choice. It has to be your decision what you want to do with your life. And, he didn't try to force me, but he said, it's spreading. So the longer you leave it, it goes into your lymph nodes, So I was really getting oh my God, what do I do? On one hand, he's healed part of this. I know he has, but nobody will believe me, but I know it. Or he tapped into my own healing powers. So I ended up, someone referred me to a wonderful lady, Dr. Yvonne Murphy. She was in India at the time. She's from Dublin. Chiropractor. She's a spiritual midwife is what she is, which is, I think,
I like her
beautiful.
already.
I know. Oh, she's beautiful. The minute you step into her presence, her frequency is so high, you're just like floating. It's beyond, just being in her presence is healing. It was, so I had a session with her by Skype, and I was saying, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to tap in, to my higher guidance, but I'm so stressed, I can't even hear it. And she was lovely. She just said, look, there's no right or wrong in this. It's not the wrong thing just because you go through the conventional medical system. It may, at the end of the day, it may end up serving a purpose in terms of the work you will do. That it's maybe having gone through it, you'll be able to relate to women who have gone through it and other people, because you'll have, if I came along and said I got a quick healing and I can talk about cancer, nobody would listen to me. And at the same time, I wouldn't have got the time and the space to awaken to myself and let go of my old life, So there was a method in it all, and I ultimately did choose to go down the route of treatment. And I know I would never do it again, but I learned so much from it. And then you can empathize and relate to someone who's in that boat, because I met such amazing people I said it to, sorry, now I'm probably rambling on a bit, but I was saying it to, there's just so many aspects to it, but I was, a woman from work, a friend from work said one day when I started treatment, I really like to come in with you and just spend the day. And I was, okay, fine, but I'm not going to be much company because you feel pretty rotten. And you have a good laugh though at the same time. I always had a good laugh when I went in there. But she said to me leaving, she said, Celine, that beats any day off work. I had such fun. I was like, what? These are the lengths you'll go to have a bit of fun, come into the chemotherapy ward. But when everything is stripped away, all the facade, all the mask, you're just meeting people, heart to heart. It lifted me. I used to look forward to it some days, to going in. It's funny, isn't it? It's a crazy journey, but I don't regret any, but that's why I don't believe there are any wrong, yourself, there are no wrong decisions. I ultimately, through Yvonne, she just gave me the permission to go, look, you just got to trust what feels right. It's hard. You have two people shouting at you, two sides, Lebanese healer and the consultant in the hospital, and they're both screaming and getting louder. But I did both. I did everything, I did everything. The nutrition, the spiritual work, the emotional work, the physical. And that's where the power is. It's, I never felt the doctors were in charge of all this. I sort of felt I was just going along with them and just humoring them in one way, but because I knew that wasn't the answer. I knew it wasn't the answer, but maybe that was the purpose. So that, and I've had a lot of conversations with people about it since, and I couldn't have those conversations if I hadn't experienced it, because, so that had to be part of my experience.
So,
yeah.
what format does the book take? Is it telling the story, just telling the story and your experiences, or is it giving advice? Is it, how does it?
It's a bit of both. It's 3 parts to it. It's basically, I suppose, memoir. The way I sort of see it is, I don't have the answers for anyone else. I don't have the answers for anyone. So all I do is, it's 3 parts. So the first part is my life pre-cancer. So it's basically, was an average person living in Ireland with all the stresses, the normal ups and downs of life, and how I was feeling, challenges, other challenges I faced in life, how I dealt with them or didn't deal with them was mainly the problem. And then really how that built. I got a lot of wake-up calls before cancer, right? A car accident, lots of things that were just getting louder, as we all know. They get louder, bang. And literally the car accident, I wouldn't say it was funny, but it was with work. I was in Kerry, I was driving to a school, I was just doing a crazy number of schools around the country, and I was so stressed. There was so much going on, and I remember I just 2 seconds I turned and I saw a woman wheeling a buggy on the path, and I just went, oh, I'd love to be her. And then I turned and boom, I literally, a car had stopped right in front of me. I just went slam into the back of them. And I mean, I don't know what her life was like, but it was like, I just can't do this. And that, I was off work for a month. I literally believe I must have had a breakdown. I don't know what a mental break, a real severe mental breakdown is, but I couldn't function. I could hardly speak. I couldn't process anything. If someone rang me, everything was like all static. And it was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? And I had adrenaline going through my system like crazy. And then I just slumped, and I went to the doctor just crying. I don't know what is wrong with me. And she just said, she actually said it, to be fair to her, you've been shaken up mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, which was the truth. It was a big spiritual wake-up call. And then I went back, didn't know what to do, back on the treadmill faster than ever, applying for more jobs, doing more schools. This is how I'll out. I nearly like as if I could outrun everything. And then bang, cancer. So sorry, yeah. So that's sort of the first part. I sort of lead people in, and I hope they can identify in some way with, just because I think my life was quite typical. And
I think most people listening to this will identify with that immediately.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Same with all of it.
Yeah, I mean, and now I do think there was a timing to this as well, because it was ready. I wrote it very quickly afterwards, and I had said this to someone else. I went to a publisher, and they told me to write fiction, which had me like, I was like, what? What do you mean fiction? I've just gone through cancer and I've written my story. Write fiction? So I've never written anything, but I did. I did do it because I said, what the hell? I'll give it a go. And then there was a method to that, because it gave me time to process everything. I learned a bit about writing. I got a bit of confidence. So many things. And then I went and edited it during lockdown. So there was a sense, and it connected me to, oh yeah, there's a collective devastation, there's individual devastations. It's all the same. Same stuff was coming up, same traumas, the same shadow you have to see in your life and clear. So there was the pre-cancer, the cancer, the devastation. What's that like? What started to change in me? Same in any devastation. And then coming out the other side. And the third part really is about how it transformed me, but how do you go on to create the life you want? So I call it co-creating your life, as in you tune in, you connect to your higher self, your source, your whatever you want to call it, and create from there. So, and then I think it's a very practical tool, because I trained as a life coach, and I don't talk about it much because I'm not I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't like the word coach. I'm not a coach. I'm the last person who's a coach. But I'd like but I'd like to see myself as a guide, maybe, you know. I followed a beautiful spiritual teacher right throughout cancer. Yvonne recommended him, or direct pointed me to him, a guy called Muji. He's a
Mm.
Jamaican guy living in Portugal. Have you heard of him? So I
Yep.
just did all his satsangs, and he does, and his retreats online. And I loved, he always talked, I love what he talks about is burning away everything that you are not.
Yeah.
And that's the fire, and then coming back in the fire of your spirit and who you are. And because that's what the book is to me. It's a journey of remembering. It's going back, burning away everything that I believed I was. And I sort of, everything is created to distract us out there with all these things. So the third part of the book, going off again, is from the coaching. I just developed what I believe is, I call it inside out living. So it's basically a tool where I try to capture everything I believe we have influence over in our lives in terms of how we create it. And you basically can look and score yourself. It's in a wheel. But more importantly, I sort of then ask questions, or I give very practical steps, as, for example, say it's to do with your, what was one of them? Around boundaries and stuff. I had no boundaries in my life. It's been a huge, huge challenge for me, but I'm getting better now. It's like boundaries with, isn't it, the systems and the governments and everything we're in. I had to tackle it, and still am, in my personal life, going, wow, this is okay to say no. It's, I was the most compliant, agreeable, obedient person you could find, because like most Irish people, or a lot of people, I was reared to believe that's what a good person is. That's how they've got us now.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I see my family, my mother, and and I love her to bits, but like, the more obedient you are, the better the person she believes she is. And
Right, I was
breaks my heart.
I was at the St. Patrick's Day parade the other day, and all the rebel songs from 100 years ago were being played out. And I was looking at all the people lining up, and I was like, you haven't got a fucking clue what these people are talking about. That's the first thing. And I've said this on a couple of shows, but then I watched the parade go by. I don't know if you saw me say this, but then there was, in the middle of the parade, 2 kids dressed as vaccines, and then 2 satanic guys behind. And I was like, okay, right. They're right out there. And everybody's like this, way. They have no idea they don't even know what they're looking at.
Oh my God. But that's why what you're doing is so important, because I watched last night and it really, when we talk about, part of the journey of cancer is clearing the trauma for me, clearing that child, because that was the biggest thing I didn't understand. You cannot come back. This has really been huge for me, because I was never in my body. I was up, out there, here, never in my body. I had no idea what that meant. And I learned that the reason is because of all this shit basically lodged there all my life, and from probably before. And once I started to do the work, then I feel, and I feel safe in my body. It's the safest place I feel now, and I feel clear, and I can tune in. And when I listened, I mean, I know there's always more to clear, but when I listened to Janice, is it, Barcello last night, and she talked about birth, and I have a memory of, I was on this course and I was in the womb, and I literally was going, no way, I'm not going out there. And the table literally fell over. Like, they had to try and bring me back, because it was literally going through that birthing process. And I was separated from my mother straight away for about 3 weeks. And then when I was about 2, I had surgery. They took out my tonsils and my adenoids. It was really barbaric. And I was screaming, my mother said, every night for about a month. Like, they didn't know what was wrong with me. But I mean, it was trauma.
Well, good, of course.
You're like, what do you think it was?
They didn't know what it was.
You screamed.
3 weeks. You had your tonsils out. I mean, you had separation. I mean, I'm dealing with this as well. I've got incredible separation issues that we're all digging into this, because it all does go back before birth.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting? Like, everybody, I believe, ended up where they needed to end up, as we know, during the last 2 years. And I ended up back. It's like coming full circle back with my mother and reconnecting. Like, I could feel the pain. Sometimes I still can feel the pain of that separation. Like, does she not see me? But it's healing by being here. And this is the freeing, the liberating part of this, that I feel, I even say, my God, she doesn't know, but she chose this. And I'm so grateful. I just, the other day, I thought, I'm so grateful to her. She probably doesn't know, at some level, she does know it. But she chose this too, to come here to help me heal and wake up and do what I'm meant to do. As she is. So that's, in another way, is so beautiful. Now, if I tell her that, she'd lock me up, but
Showing this video.
no. Unless it's
No.
on RTE, Mark.
Oh God, I hate RTE so much.
I know.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
that's sorry. I hope there's something very. I'm going to round the thing, but what I feel with this, the reason I mentioned Muji as well, because I love the way he says he's not telling you anything. He's pointing you. He keeps saying, "I'm pointing you back." That's all. He's only pointing, and he's asking you to look. And I'm not saying I'm Muji, but what I feel in that. It wasn't my intention. I needed to say it. I needed to tell it. But I hope someone reading it. I'm not telling anyone what to do here, and this is the answer, because I don't have anyone else's answer. But I hope by sort of following my answer or my truth or my journey, it may just somebody goes, okay, I feel like that too. Oh, maybe it's okay to do that. Maybe it's okay to like the biggest thing was letting go. Like I had a very clear decision after cancer, and I don't know, I've met other people who've said this, that it's afterwards the transition is horrendously challenging, because you're like, I know I was like this. I'm not going back. I cannot go back. Everybody expected me to go back, but I didn't know what lay ahead. There was just a big chasm. But I said, no, I'm making this choice. And I asked for help. And isn't there? There's a point when you have to go into that void and you just have to take a leap of faith and you just ask for help and you just trust. And everything showed up for me. I mean, I say that to everyone, it'll always show, doesn't it? It always, always, always shows. I will put my life on it. I bet my life on it with anyone. You mightn't like it shows up, but initially, it's different to what maybe you expect.
I think, people need to learn to trust that you are taken care of. I wrote a blog post years ago about stepping into the void, and every success that I had in life was when I just went, fuck it, I'm stepping into the void. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't care. And then when that happens, the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
And every time I've had a miserable time is when I've done things out of obligation, or done because I think I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
I
know. Yeah. But it's amazing you've done it that much. I mean, I didn't do it all my life. That was the first time. And I can literally remember driving in the car one day, and I was like, I took my hands off the steering wheel. And I just went, okay, I give in. I can't do it anymore. I've been trying to hold on to this sort of facade of a life, keeping everything, all the balls in the air. And it just, particularly when the cancer came, it was like, the fact that I just can't do it. And everything in an instant. You know who I did a session with then, this astrologer, Andrew Smith. I don't know if you've ever come across him in Dublin. He's sort of a spiritual astrologer. He's an amazing guy. But he said to me, I was trying to get myself focused. I'm not going back. Where am I going? And he just said, he reminded me of one of the Indiana Jones films. I don't know which one it is, but Sean Connery's in it. And Harrison Ford has to get some. He has to get something to save his
third one. It's the third one.
Third one, yeah. I'm not good on those.
Last Crusade.
Is it? Okay. And he used to go I did look back. He said, look at the clip. And he goes, Harrison Ford, I think, goes to the edge of the thing. And he basically has to trust that if he puts his foot over, like this leap of faith, and then the steps come up or whatever, the ladder or something comes up and saves him. So he kept saying to me, you've got to take, he just kept saying this, Andrew Smith, you just gotta literally step over. I think that's the difference to, that's the point where your life changes. Nobody, you can tell people all the tools in the world and have good boundaries and do this and that. At the end of the day, I think, there's a timing. It's like a switch goes on in your life. Something is switched on and you're told it's your time, go. And I don't know, if it isn't, it isn't.
Well, if it was me, I'd just push everybody out of the plane.
If I'd kill them all.
No, just get on with it. You'll be fine. Just
aim
for that hay bar. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, it's like I would never have been good at parachute jumps. So.
Well, I did one, and that was enough. I did that with the Red Devils in Aldershot in 1989 or 88, I think it was. Yeah, I've never forgotten it.
And was it worth it after you got over that fear?
I wouldn't I wouldn't change that memory for the world. It was such an extreme. Lots of people have done parachute jumps, but this was like 3 days with the parachute regiment training and all of this, and all the assault courses and all the fun and games. And then you get up into this little islander, and I'll never forget the faces of everybody, because I think I was 4th out of 6 people to jump. So I saw the faces of the 4 guys before me, and they're all like this.
Oh God!
It was really noisy and everything. And we'd done all this training, and it was a static line jump, which is where the guy takes the thing and attaches it, and he checks you're okay, and you train to hold on to the side and put your legs out of the plane, and then and you're supposed to look up, and then he turns around, checks that the line's attached, then turns around and tells you to jump. So this guy did it to me, turned around, and by the time he turned back, I'd gone. I'd fallen out of the plane.
You'd fallen out?
I fell out.
Oh my God.
You're supposed to push yourself out and go 1001, 1002, 1003. I just fell out, and I was flapping around like a bird.
Oh my God.
And I didn't get a very good review. He said that, because my legs were looking for the ground. It was such an unnatural feeling. And I really didn't, I'm a pilot, but I'm scared of heights, which is strange. I hate being on top of tall buildings, for example.
And okay in a plane?
I'm fine in a plane, but on top of a tall building, I don't know, it's really strange. It's probably something to do with past life or something. But yeah, and then suddenly the chute opens. Thank God it wasn't one of these, because I'd have died, because I was too busy trying to
flailing around.
And then the chute opens, and then suddenly, and it's the most peaceful thing you could ever imagine. And then you go, oh, and it's like, I don't know, 1 minute of complete peace.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, the ground rush, you've got to get it. And after, wow, that was amazing.
Wow.
I mean,
I
wore a parachute for a living. I could have jumped out at any moment, because that's what you have to wear them for. But
but if he hadn't you hooked on, you could have gone.
I don't think I'd have worked it out in time. But I mean, I had a flying instructor who we invited him to come parachuting, and he had a gin and tonic in one hand, classic RAF, big handlebar moustache, and a cigar, and he went, I can't see the point of jumping out of a perfectly serviceable aircraft. Fucking hell. And I thought, he's right. And he'd been flying for 40 years. So,
Wow.
But I mean, it's the metaphor. What I like about is the metaphor. I think you probably in a few years, you have to rewrite it, calling it Gifts from the COVID Devastation.
Yeah, maybe. But it prepared me, I can tell you, that's for sure. It was like having gone through lockdown for a few years. When people talked about lockdown, I was like, sure, I've just been doing my own thing, wandering around for the last few years. And I had gone within. So everything, I could see it playing out. The whole, as we're seeing all this collective darkness that we have to see, that started coming up in me. It's still coming up, but it's like every stage of it, the boundaries, like, it's so bananas. And when you were talking recently, about all of this AI, and I had this conversation with Jerry O'Neill on Friday, and it was so interesting. He said, and he wasn't really aware of this, but he said, we got onto this whole thing about power and that whole dynamic of nearly siphoning off your energy, the system, and people individually. And he was talking about a politician online, and he said, God, I don't know what it is, but he seems to get energy from people getting very angry and agitated. And I said, yeah, I know what that is. That's that narcissistic, vampiric siphoning off your energy. And they've no source of their own power, isn't that it? Like, I've seen that personally recently. It's terrifying sometimes, going, I know what's going on now. I've had a lot of this in my life. And the more agitated you got, the happier that those people get. And that's what he was saying. That politician was getting off on this, He had no access to it. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and I know on some level, but when it comes up close and you're seeing it out in the world and you're seeing it in your life. And that's where I feel, and we were talking about it when you talk about sovereignties. Yeah, well, I know I have to master this in my life, first. I have to become sovereign, and I'm feeling it more and more every day. It's funny, it just doesn't it? It just unfolds in your life. Like, I did listening to this channeling the other day, and anyways, this woman, Laurie Ladd, she was channeling King Arthur. Oh, it was My God, it was
I was on the
phenomenal.
phone. I was on the phone to her.
Yeah. Well, all she kept saying, the message I got from it, and I know we're in Aries season as well, but it was the fire. He kept talking about getting into the fire of your truth
Yeah.
and literally discarding everything else, just like literally you're walking through, go, no, 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 no. And then you use that to be of service. And I was just like, oh, I could feel it boiling up at me. I went, yeah, that is, isn't it? It's that
Well,
letting go of everything else that doesn't serve any of it is
yeah. Well, I'm an Aries and I'm very
mm,
fiery, and I
mm.
see, and I've met you a few times, and I see you as like a point of light, and it is a real gift that you've been through this and then putting it out in a book form, because all of these types of creative outputs that we have like this help. They're basically hands out to other people across the bridge. And something you said about 10 minutes ago about hoping that somebody will relate to it and it will give them, even if there's one thing. What was that noise? The
Or
noise.
it could be my my laptop is humming. I don't know why. Well,
Because I'm a
I hope
fire.
it's not going to explode.
Still the Aries fire. So one of the things that I found strange when I started this channel was that I started talking about things I've never spoken about in public.
Mm.
Is that okay?
No, it's fine. There's something, when you talk about the AI, yeah, 2 interviews I had, the battery wasn't plugged in, just went dead. Had to
Yeah.
go back and plug it in.
It's gone
No,
quiet.
it is plugged in. It's just, I don't know
No,
what
this
it's doing.
is happening all the time, and it's just take it in your stride because it's just happening all the time.
Yeah.
Everybody I know this is happening to.
Yeah.
And then what I was saying is that when you do talk about these things, like even with the UFO that I filmed last night and shared on Telegram,
I didn't see that. Yeah.
it's just that little point of recognition helps people realize it's not just them and that there's a way through, and you can do it with humor. You can face the darkest nights with humor, and you can emerge triumphant, which is, I think, exactly what's happening, just in slow
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah, very slow motion, very slow motion. But like you said, the humor is key, and you're brilliant at that. I mean, you have to laugh at these things. I mean, they're so insane. Some of the, I just, yeah, like, and
What
as you
else?
said, isn't it? They can't relate. A lot of that sort of, I noticed that with someone recently. I've had to put down quite clear boundaries with, and I can see the anger in them. The anger. Oh my God, it's when they're not being this is one thing that someone taught me a few years ago, because I saw it in a few people. It said, watch these people when they believe they're not being watched, and watch how they treat people who they believe is not of any value to them. And I saw this guy I was sort of seeing, but not for long. And it was in the supermarket, and he was up at the butcher's, and I could hear he was American, and he was taught the guy behind him was really, "Hi, you're American," and all this, and he was American. He was so rude. I was like, oh my God, this is so. But on the other side of it, he was this amazing professor, all knew everybody, and you'd see the light come on. I said, that's that's.
I've met so many people like that, even on this channel. It's unbelievable.
Oh my God.
But you know what I do? One of the best lessons I learned about facing angry people was did you ever read any books by Stuart Wilde?
No, Stuart
Go
Wilde. No.
and look him up. Stuart Wilde. The title of his books has just disappeared, but he was the first guy. He was the first author that Hay House published after Louise Hay.
Oh.
When Louise
Right.
Hay. Yeah. And he was an English guy who left. I've told this story on the channel before, but for people who haven't heard it, The Infinite Self.
Wow. Okay. Oh, nice. I like that. I've heard of that. Yeah, I must look that up. I like that.
He taught me a lot of lessons, and I was really close to meeting him. He died in Ireland, actually, about 10 years
Is he
ago.
English or American? He said.
English.
Okay.
He was an entrepreneur in the 60s that dealt in jeans. And he told this story about going into a negotiation with his business partner, so this jeans guy, and the guy was like started shouting and screaming, being angry. So Stuart just laid down on the ground.
He what?
He just laid on the floor.
He laid on the floor
In the middle of this business meeting. And he came out of the best deal he'd ever had. And I've used this myself when I was in Marrakesh loads of people shouting and screaming and demanding money because of moving the furniture into the house. I just laid down on the floor in between them all, and literally within 20 minutes they were moving the piano and everything for free, whereas they were demanding €3,000 20 minutes earlier.
What is that?
Well, it's because you just said about the politicians that feed off the reaction.
Yes.
The reaction.
Okay. So yeah.
If you take the reaction away, they've got nothing they lose their power.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. That's it. Yeah. I didn't know you had to lie down though, but I know. Depending on where you are, but exactly. I had that recently with someone, and someone said, "Do not respond. Do not go back with like, because that's what they want. They want your agitation. The more, just ignore it, or just come back at a different level." Or
the thing with the AI and the Witiko and everything is that that's the thing that makes you react. And if you've been drinking, or if you've had drugs, or if you've had enough sleep, and if you're really busy, like you said, you're never actually in yourself. And when you're not actually yourself and grounded, then you do react. That's when reaction happens. It's like I've been in business for 30 years, and I go into business mode, and I'm a pain in the ass because I'm like, I've got no time for your emotional stuff because I just want to get that information so I can get this done. Yeah. And it's it's not a transition between all of these things is a real skill as well.
Maybe, but then you're a very good example of that. Like that maybe that is the truth. Like we're moving into more, I believe, well, I hope, sort of more heart-based businesses. You know what I mean? You can still be, doesn't mean you're going around hugging everyone. Nothing wrong with that either. But like, do you not find you can still get things done, but it doesn't have to be through all this manipulation and
no. I would never manipulate anybody. I hope I wouldn't.
I know. Well, not manipulate. I don't mean not you, but just
that
systems.
No, but I'm agreeing with what you're saying because that's exactly what most people do in business. It's a manipulation thing, and as soon as you're not of any interest, they just drop you.
Yeah.
And what you said about half an hour ago was one of the most important lessons I think I'm learning is about boundaries. Because boundaries, we have to cultivate our boundaries so that we learn. So we need to learn how to say no.
Yeah.
Right? And that it comes on so many levels. Because as soon as you learn to say no, because it's the right thing to do, regardless of the reaction that you're going to get, that's when you stand in your power. And when you stand in your power, you are rooted to the earth and to the stars, and you are in harmony with the universe. And when you're there, that's when real creativity happens, and that's when
absolutely, yeah. And I literally, that was another big lesson. I had it with a family member during lockdown, and I literally had to go to a counselor for about 6. I said, I'm dealing with this for all of my life. I didn't know what it was. And I couldn't grasp, I don't know if many people can, but she kept saying to me, you don't need to explain yourself. If something doesn't feel okay for you, that is enough. You don't have to go into saying why. And I was like, really? But that'll hurt their feet, But this has literally lasted 2 years. This challenge, But I'm staying very clear on my boundaries, and it feels really good. But like you said, if I'm caught, I was caught. You saved me. Actually, I'll tell you how you saved me by recommending to go see Batman the movie, because this is a weird how this happened. I always say, my God, I was saved because something sort of erupted, let's say, the evening before. And I was like, oh my God. And then I basically said, okay, I had planned to go see the movie the following day. And then I got an email just before I went into the movie. And I was like, oh my, I'm going to reply, agitation, reaction. And I think I rang someone, and then they just said, go to the movie, for God's sake. So I just put the thing away, went in for 3 hours, came out, I breathed, I talked to someone who's dealt with this, and they just said, do nothing. And definitely not now.
Going to the movie was the equivalent of lying down.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah.
My nan used to say, least said, quickest mended.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah, very true.
I know, but it took me years to get it. I was always rah, 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 rah. I mean, I remember I had an argument once with someone very close to me, and she said, I don't think you even know what you're saying. And I had to go, what did I just say? And I was like, well, shit, she's right. I don't even remember what I just said.
Yeah.
But
But that,
you're writing another book as well, aren't you? Right now.
well, yeah, I'm just see how ideas come out of the course. I started doing, the way we were writing something else. So I went away after Christmas and I started writing something which was about, because I was trying to do it myself, really tapping into your powers, really taking that a bit further. So I feel there's, really, how do you practically, because this is what I'm learning and have been learning. So how do I do the things like, clearing your trauma, getting into your body, getting in touch with your creative, all that sort of stuff. So, and I'm going to use, I think, a combination of that tool in that book, because I asked a few people to read it before it came out, and one, she worked sort of with teenagers, because I'd love to work with teenagers again. That's my passion. I really feel
The teenagers need you, Celine.
yeah, I'd love to work with them again.
They
I love them.
The teenagers are the ones that have suffered, I think, the most throughout this one.
Yeah. And I've always had a connection with them. I loved going into schools. I just loved it. I'm glad I wasn't a teacher.
What are you going to do now? Instead of going into the schools, be a beacon of light. They come out of the schools to you, because those schools are not good places for them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've heard of Mark. This woman, what's her, Sherry Diffband in the States, and she set up Aramis Creative Learning Centers. They're basically replacement schools. And I wrote to her. I mean, they're phenomenal. And so she's setting up these centers. She's starting in America, and then she's Australia. She's working with those two girls, the twins, Carly and Julia, in Australia. And they're basically, learning how to use your pendulum, learning how to tap into your intuition. It's a whole new system. And she said it's not education. It's she's another word, but because so I wrote to her and I said I was away at Christmas and I was writing something, and I walked down the road. My father's from Tipperary, so I feel very drawn to it. And I saw this big field, and I just said, "Oh my God, I'd love to have a centre here. I would love to bring all the amazing people even who are on your course, all these fantastic talents, and I would love to just run someplace like that and bring every teenager in and just get them so in touch with their truth and their fire." And
sounds to me like we need to set up a crowdfunding thing and get that thing built.
Yeah, I've seen the field. Well, you know what I remembered? I told my cousin I saw this field. It was down in Tipperary, and then I remembered, my aunt got the family farm down in Tipperary, and her husband died. She might give me a little corner of it. Who knows? I better stay in with her.
But it's a long way, though, isn't it?
No, it's only an hour and a half from here.
I thought you said it was Tipperary.
Yeah, Tipperary's only North Tipperary's an hour and a half from Galway.
Sorry, it's a long way to Tipperary.
Oh, I know.
I had
to. You know what? One of the things, they always say about Tipperary people, they have a great sense of humor. And someone said, yeah, they'd want to. If you saw Tipperary down, you'd want a good sense of humor. Sorry, apologies, any Tipperary people watching, but you're wonderful.
I just did a long way to Tipperary joke, and this Irish woman didn't get it. Can you believe that? And
too subtle.
And well, yeah, I did.
And early in the morning.
And I know it is early. And what cracks me up is this is the most Irish episode ever. Look, we've got matching yellow jumpers. We've got green thing behind us. And,
yeah.
And the famous pine, which is in every Irish house.
I know. Someone said to me, would you not paint that? I said, my mother'd kill me. But I just have to live with it. It's not the end of the world. I'll live with the pine.
I love the pine. So I'm gonna. How do people get hold of your book if they want to read it?
Well, what was I going to say? I have a link tree, which probably is the easiest. I have an audiobook, which I've just narrated and recorded and finished, and I've had a lovely guy in India. I'll tell you, this is inspiring. Just one thing to say. So I found someone on Fiverr to master it and do it. And so your man was listening. He's 23, and he was listening to it as he's going along. And he sent it to me last night, and he said, I so enjoyed reading your book that I've decided I'm going to leave whatever he's doing and follow my dream. Isn't that? And I said,
how brilliant is that?
You have made I said, if nobody else reads it, he just said, you've given me the listening to you, gave me the whatever impetus or something to follow his dream of whatever he wants to do. That's the gift.
That is the gift.
Yeah, if I saw every young person, every teenager I know, and gosh, because it just kills me, isn't it? It's just, I know you have teenage children. It's just, I don't have children, but I sort of feel the reason as well for that is because I've got to serve children in a different way, if you know what I mean. It's like give them maybe, I don't know, a home or a help or something in the
What
future.
I'd like you to do is write a book called the Teenage Girl's Handbook, something like that, where you could, if you could talk their language. It's the problem I've got is that you go from having a little kid to somebody you just can't communicate with. They don't listen to you. That,
Mm.
and then it's in that time it's really annoying because until they get to the other side of that,
Mm.
I'd have lost them. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I don't know now if they'd listen to me. I'm probably a bit too old, but at least I've been there. I'm at a different stage, um, but
well,
I sort of get on well with teenagers because I actually believe that you have so much to learn from them. It's not
oh,
about
absolutely,
telling them.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love listening to them. I want to hear from them. Like I used to love that. And the one thing I always remember this girl that nearly broke my heart at an event, and she came up to me and she was all passionate about. I think they were going to start doing music in the university, and anyway, she had this passion. And then I said, "God, that's amazing." And we were talking away, and then she said, "But my parents won't pay for it. They want me to do commerce, to do business." I said, can you not tell them like this is your passion, because you're going to end up, as we were saying, sorry, myself and Jerry said it last Friday, that really you can see the connection that the universities have just become sort of like,
Yeah,
what would you say,
feeding.
feeding into these big multinationals. It's nothing to do with the young people.
But
It's just awful. It's awful.
I'm telling all my kids, don't go to uni until
I
we've changed the
know.
world. Just get away. Schools are crap. The universities are
Yeah,
worse.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Well, these Artemis Creative Learning Centers, I mean, something to that effect. These
well,
look, I've listened to her.
get her on the show. We'll all have a round table.
I actually I'd said that. I said I must contact her because she's been on with Michael J. She's been on with a lot of people. She's an amazing woman and she works with young people and she sort of connects in with their higher self. So she's already set this up because she's young children herself. So she opened her first one somewhere in Carolina or somewhere it's just opened up a few months ago. So all of the children are starting to. I've seen her advertise, what they cover and the subjects like, and what they cover is just wow.
It's
Wow.
like Jedi school.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Exactly.
I'd like to look at that. We can talk about that off air, but
Yeah.
I'm going to put links to your. Well, if you
So
want
sorry,
to,
the link tree you asked me. There's an audio. Sorry, there's an audio book. There's a print. There's an ebook. Audiobook though I think is really nice. I narrate it myself, and it's if you're walking or, you can listen and get on my mailing list. I've had a good, good few new people join. So yeah, I love connecting with new people. So all of those are on my link tree.
yeah, well, I'll put the link tree near the video, and if you're on my email list, I'll send it out there as well. And please do support Celine. She's put a lot of work into this, and is doing great work. And Celine, thank you very much for joining me this morning. I don't often do morning shows, but I made an exception for you.
Deeply
But
grateful. We're very, as I said, there's no accident. That came to me the other day. There's no accident. You're right bang nearly in the centre of Ireland, and very grateful. Just want to say, honoured and grateful. You're so appreciated by everyone. I know Janice said that to you yesterday evening. It's just you've no idea because you're just like a beacon of light in the country. So badly needed.
Don't set me off again. She set me off last night.
No. Oh my God, I know she was beautiful. Yeah, but no, it's true. It's true because it's not easy what you're doing, but you're giving us all the rest of us the courage to do it too. Because I just feel the fire in me growing every day. It's like nothing is stopping me. Nobody. I don't. I'm a water sign, but I've got a good bit of fire in my sign as well.
Did you see
my astrologer?
Did you see a start as soon as you started saying all that, the signal went funny, and it's like it's interfering with us all the way through.
Did it? Wow. Nothing's stopping it. Don't even dare try.
What I like to hear is an Irish writer talking about having fire in their belly, like Samuel Beckett did.
Yeah. Oh, I feel the fire ever since I channeled, not me channeling, but what's her name? Channeled King Arthur. I just went, wow. And it was literally just as we moved into Aries, and I went, oh my God, I can feel it. And that's what we need though, isn't it? In these times, there's no sitting back anymore, chatting about it.
No,
Nothing wrong with that either, though.
No, chatting's a good.
It is. It's the energy, isn't it? It's the, like we said when I talked to Jerry on Friday, I said the more of these conversations, the more of us all. I said, sorry, just very briefly, I'll just very quick thing, if you don't mind me telling you, just through the group, your course, I was watching this girl's interview with someone in Australia. So I was just watching her video. Turned out she's an Irish woman. She'd no Irish accent, but anyway, it's very interesting, very artistic, and I was just glued to the conversation. So she proceeded to tell her story, how she met her husband. She'd gone to Edinburgh. Where did she meet him? Doolin. She walked into a hostel and he was standing there. She's standing there in his bare feet. Anyways, they met, connected, they got married. Yeah. I wrote her a message at the top of the video and I said, I just loved this interview and you won't believe I was just down in Doolin, next day, she joins my mailing list. The following day, she emails me. She says, I feel we're already talking and know each other. I'm in Doolin in April. Would you like to meet for a coffee and continue the conversation?
I'll come and meet you.
Yeah. I said, absolutely. So she said towards the end of April. But isn't that there's something in that, and I don't know why I'm meeting her, but there is a reason, because I just felt like I knew her. And she's been emailing me since. They're coming back to celebrate their anniversary in Doolin.
Well, that's brilliant.
Isn't that brilliant?
I was also very pleased to see Jerry O'Neill start as a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, I was about to send a message about 5 minutes before I saw the notification or read his email saying, Jerry, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And there it was in the first episode.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's brilliant.
That's going on all the time with me at the moment.
Yeah, the same, isn't it?
A day, 100 times a day.
But isn't that, did you say as well, like, isn't it? It's that whole frequency matching. So the key is to keep your frequency up, because then everything becomes easy. You know, we say about all this creating we have to do and what are we going to do next? I think a lot of it is you get your frequency up, you attract your family of frequency, as they say, and then everything just starts happening. Doesn't it?
All you have to do is fall out of the aeroplane.
Fall out of the airplane, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Let go. Yeah.
A little bit of training beforehand helps, but fall out of the airplane.
Okay,
Right.
We won't encourage people to do that just yet. You know, dead bodies around on the ground.
You can't die. So who cares?
I know you can, but try telling that to
But that's the point.
I told that to my mother the other day, and she's going, I know. I said, what is it? You're there praying away to God, watching mass every morning, and then you don't trust him in anything. The minute something happens, you're like, oh my God, you're terrified. It's because separation.
And that's because the guys doing the mass are the ones creating the fear. God bless your mother, and thank you. See you later.